the silence dark, whispers in the midnight park. The night is cold, there's no escape. Ghostly figures take their shape.
Hello, welcome back to Real Talk Horror Edition. I'm your host Josh, and we're continuing our series on psychological horror. From the torment of the characters to the chilling atmospheres, this series is where we dissect films that truly delve into some terrifying territory. Today's episode marks the conclusion of part 2 of our journey, Paranoia and the Unknown. In this part of the journey, we're looking at films that lean into paranoia, isolation, and the fear of the unknown to deliver psychological horror. We have explored a range of films that disturb, unsettle, and force us to confront our deepest fears. And now, we've arrived at the final chapter of this segment. Today, we're talking about Seven, a film that stands as a pinnacle of psychological horror. Even though some might argue it's more of a crime thriller, but let's break it down. With its grim tone, relentless psychological torment, and the exploration of the macabre, Seven firmly plants itself in the horror genre for me. It's a film that doesn't just entertain, it leaves a mark. You'll walk away questioning morality, justice, and the depth of human depravity. Few films are able to weave such a seamless tapestry of horror and introspection, and Seven does so with chilling precision. It's not just about what happens on screen, it's about what's left lingering in your mind. So let's set the stage. Released in 1995, Seven was directed by the incomparable David Fincher, whose knack for creating atmospheric, cerebral films has made him one of the defining directors of his generation. The screenplay, penned by Andrew Kevin Walker, is as razor sharp as it is harrowing. This is a film carried by powerhouse performances, with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman taking on the roles of Detective Mills and Somerset, respectively, and Kevin Spacey delivering a chilling portrayal of the enigmatic serial killer, John Doe. And we can't forget the haunting score by Howard Shore and the unforgettable cinematography by Darius Khondji, which bathes the film in shadows and dread. Now, onto the plot. Seven follows the story of the two detectives, the seasoned Somerset and the impulsive young Mills, as they investigate a stream of murders inspired by the 7 deadly sins. Each crime is grotesque and meticulously staged, a morbid tableau that reflects the sin being punished. As they dig deeper, the investigation spirals into a psychological nightmare. John Doe isn't just a killer, he's a warped philosopher, pulling them, and us, into his twisted worldview. The lines between hunter and prey blur, leading to one of the most haunting conclusions in cinema. Now, I first watched this, I was only 16 years old, and I saw it in the theaters back in the mid-90s, and it stayed with me ever since. Its bleak atmosphere, the methodical unraveling of its plot, and that shocking ending haunted me for days. What struck me most was how it seamlessly combined elements of gritty crime thriller with the psychological depth and tension of a horror film. Even if you're not a fan of traditional horror, Seven forces you to confront those questions of morality, human fragility, and the consequences of obsession in ways that are deeply unsettling. I know I say it a lot, but it's true. This is not just a film you watch. This is one you experience, and one that refuses to ever really let you go. So at its core, Seven delves into the chilling mind games orchestrated by John Doe. His calculated murders aren't just physical acts of violence, they're psychological weapons designed to manipulate his victims and the detectives pursuing him. Each crime scene is a grim tableau, meticulously crafted to represent one of the 7 deadly sins, forcing the detectives to decipher his macabre moral code. Doe's ultimate manipulation lies in his ability to draw Mills and Somerset into his twisted narrative, making them unwitting participants in his gruesome finale. This manipulation blurs the lines between justice and vengeance, and it leaves us questioning who truly holds the moral high ground. Throughout the film, the narrative challenges our understanding of morality and ethics. Doe's heinous acts are indefensible, yet his articulate reasoning forces both the characters and us in the audience to confront uncomfortable truths about societal apathy and human sin. Somerset and Mills' investigation becomes not just a hunt for a serial killer, but a journey of self-discovery and moral reckoning. By the end of the film, it has completely redefined reality for the protagonists, particularly Mills, whose personal and professional lives is forever altered by Doe's final revelation. The stark contrast between what is real and what is morally acceptable heightens the psychological tension, leaving an indelible impact. The dynamic between Somerset and Mills is a study in contrasts that deepens as the narrative unfolds. Somerset's weary pragmatism, shaped by years of witnessing humanity's darkest impulses, stands in stark opposition to Mills' fiery idealism and eagerness to make a difference. As the case progresses, both characters are pushed to their psychological limits. Somerset grapples with his desire to retire and escape the bleakness of his work, while Mills' impulsivity and emotional vulnerability are laid bare. This tension between the two not only drives the narrative forward, but also amplifies the psychological weight of the film's themes. By the end, both characters are profoundly changed, their vulnerabilities exposed in devastating ways. One of the most unsettling aspects of Seven is in its masterful use of the unknown. The crime scenes, while grotesque, are just fragments of the horror Doe has orchestrated. His motives and endgame remain shrouded in mystery for much of the film, leaving both the characters and us in the audience in a state of anxious anticipation. The fear of the unseen is heightened by the film's atmospheric tension, rain-soaked streets, dimly lit rooms, and a pervasive sense of dread. Even when Doe finally reveals himself, the full extent of his plan remains hidden until the final moments. This calculated ambiguity ensures that the psychological horror lingers, as we are left to grapple with the implications of Doe's actions and that fragile line between order and chaos. From the opening moments, the film plunges us into a world that feels heavy with despair and moral decay. The atmosphere is meticulously crafted to make us feel the same oppressive weight that the characters endure. Every element, from the weather to the lighting, contribute to a tone that is relentlessly grim. The ever-present rain is not just a backdrop, it's almost a metaphor for the ceaseless moral filth that washes over the city, but never cleanses it. There's a claustrophobic tension that builds, scene by scene, pressing down on us like a vice. It's not just what you see, but what you feel. The pervasive unease that something terrible is always lurking just out of sight. This tonal consistency pulls us into the story's dark world and refuses to let us go, even after the credits roll. Darius Kanji's cinematography is a masterclass in visual storytelling, using shadows and muted color palettes to communicate the film's themes. Darkness is omnipresent, not just as an absence of light, but as a tangible force that consumes each frame. Shadows swallow characters whole, making them appear as though they're being overtaken by the darkness within and around them. Muted greens, grays, and browns dominate the screen, emphasizing the rot, both literal and figurative, that permeates the world. Even the rare moments of brightness seem sickly devoid of hope and warmth. Kanji's framing often traps characters in tight and closed spaces, visually reinforcing the feeling that there's no escape from the nightmare that they're living. This oppressive visual style is not just aesthetic, it's thematic. It's a visual representation of the moral ambiguity and despair that the narrative is exploring, making every frame feel like a painting designed to unsettle and provoke reflection. Howard Shore's score is a crucial component of the film's relentless tension. The music doesn't lead the narrative so much as it lurks in the background, enhancing the unease with discordant tones and haunting melodies. It's a soundtrack that refuses to comfort. Instead, it amplifies the sense of dread and unpredictability. And the sound design complements the score perfectly, creating an immersive experience. The incessant rain is more than just weather. It's a constant reminder of the bleakness of the city. The sound of water dripping, the echo of footsteps in empty hallways, and the grotesque squelches at crime scenes. All these auditory details make the world feel suffocatingly real. These aren't just sounds. They're tools that heighten the visceral impact of the film, pulling us deeper into the unsettling world. And then the setting in an unnamed city is more than a backdrop. It's a character of its own. This urban hellscape is defined by its rain-soaked streets, decaying buildings, and pervasive grime. It's as though the city itself is complicit in the story's corruption and despair. The decision to leave the city unnamed adds to its universality. It could be anywhere, reinforcing the idea that the themes of moral decay and human darkness are not confined to one place, but are a global, even timeless phenomenon. The city mirrors the internal struggles of the characters, bleak, unrelenting, and devoid of hope. The interplay of setting, sound, and cinematography creates an immersive world that feels alive, even as it decays. It's a setting that doesn't just house the story, but actively shapes it, forcing characters to confront their darkest fears and moral boundaries. With these elements working in unison, the film creates a sensory experience that continues to haunt in this exploration of the human condition and the environments that shape us. Detective Somerset, played by Morgan Freeman, is the epitome of a methodical, world-weary investigator. Nearing retirement, Somerset's every action reflects a deep sense of existential fatigue. He's a man who has seen the worst of humanity and is deeply disillusioned by the persistent decay of society. His investigative approach is slow and deliberate, shaped by years of experience and a desire to find meaning in a seemingly meaningless world. This contrasts sharply with Detective Mills, played by Brad Pitt. Mills embodies youthful impulsiveness and brash confidence, eager to prove himself in the shadow of Somerset's seasoned presence. His frustration with Somerset's caution creates tension between the two, leading to both moments of conflict and reluctant camaraderie. As the investigation into John Doe's crimes progress, the case challenges their mental and emotional limits, forcing them to confront their inner demons and differing worldviews. This dynamic becomes the emotional core of the film, with Somerset representing seasoned skepticism and Mills embodying raw passion. John Doe, portrayed by Kevin Spacey, is the personification of psychological horror. His presence looms over the film long before his physical appearance, creating an air of unease that permeates every scene. John Doe operates with a twisted yet chillingly coherent logic that he uses to justify his gruesome acts. Each murder is a calculated statement on what he perceives as the moral failings of society. His calm, almost banal demeanor during his interactions with Somerset and Mills starkly contrasts the grotesque violence of his actions, making him an unnervingly effective villain. His ability to manipulate the detectives, particularly Mills, showcases his intellectual prowess and deep understanding of human psychology. John Doe's ultimate reveal, that his final act is designed to ensnare Mills in his deadly game, cements him as one of the most haunting antagonists in cinema history. Tracy Mills, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, serves as an emotional anchor in the film. While she appears in relatively few scenes, her presence is pivotal to the narrative. As Mills' wife, Tracy provides a glimpse into the detective's personal life, humanizing him and revealing his vulnerabilities. Her interactions with Somerset also add depth to the character, as she confides in him about her struggles adjusting to life in the city and her pregnancy, which she hasn't yet shared with her husband. Tracy's warmth and vulnerability underscore the personal stakes of the investigation, making the film's conclusion all the more devastating. When John Doe's master plan is unveiled, Tracy becomes the emotional linchpin that transforms the story from a procedural thriller to a devastating psychological horror. Her role, though subtle, amplifies the impact of the film's unforgettable climax and underscores the profound human cost of John Doe's twisted philosophy. The film's depth lies not only in its plot, but also in the layers of symbolism and subtext that are deep in its visual and narrative design. These elements work together to create an experience that sticks with you, forcing you to confront uncomfortable truths about society, morality, and even yourself. One of the most striking aspects of the film is its recurring motif of decay. The rotting urban landscape, the decomposing bodies of the victims, and even the deteriorating mental state of the detectives serve as visual metaphors for a world in decline. The city itself becomes a character, oppressive and unrelenting, mirroring the moral corruption of its inhabitants. From the peeling paint on walls to the persistent rain washing away any sense of hope, the visual language communicates that this is a place beyond redemption. The decay isn't just physical, it's spiritual and social, underscoring the central theme of moral collapse. Each murder in the story is carefully designed to represent one of the 7 deadly sins, but they do more than just illustrate a theological concept. These crimes act as mirrors, forcing the characters and us to reflect on human nature and its inherent flaws. For the detectives, each sin exposes their vulnerabilities. For example, one detective's growing obsession with the case highlights his susceptibility to wrath, while the other's weariness and detachment suggest an inclination towards sloth or despair. The murderer's choice to orchestrate these killings as a grotesque morality play forces the detectives to grapple with their own complicity in a world that allows such horrors to exist. Are they saviors, or are they just as flawed as those they pursue? This psychological symbolism elevates the story from a crime thriller to a meditation on human frailty. On a broader level, the film critiques apathy and the erosion of collective moral responsibility. Through its grim portrayal of a society that seems numb to violence and suffering, it raises a mirror to us, challenging us to consider our own indifference. News reports of violent crimes in the background, indifferent passerby, and the cold bureaucracy of the justice system all reflect a world where empathy has become a scarce resource. By presenting this stark reality, the film suggests that the true sin lies not just in the actions of the villain, but in the passive acceptance of such decay by society as a whole. It paints a bleak but pointed picture of humanity's potential, not just for evil, but for indifference, which can be just as destructive. By diving into these elements, the film transcends its genre, becoming a piece of art that challenges us to reflect on the darkness within ourselves and the world around us. This exploration of visual metaphors, psychological symbolism, and cultural commentary transforms what might seem like a simple story into a layered critique of human nature and society. David Fincher's Seven is a masterclass in pacing and plot structure. With its meticulous blend of slow burn tension and shocking moments of intensity, from the very first frame, the film establishes a grim atmosphere, unfolding at a deliberately unhurried pace. We are also thrust into the gloomy, rain-soaked world of two detectives as they navigate a series of grisly murders that appear to be inspired by the seven deadly sins. The beauty of the pacing lies in its gradual build. Instead of rushing to reveal all the details, Fincher allows the suspense to slowly seep in. The investigation doesn't rely on quick cuts or action-packed sequences. Rather, it takes its time to peel back the layers of mystery. Each discovery feels earned, and as the detectives close in on the killer, the audience is left on edge, knowing that something bigger, something more horrifying is coming. But the brilliance of Seven isn't just in its slow burn buildup. It's in the moments where the film pulls the rug out from under us. The shifts in tone are sudden and jarring as the film seamlessly transitions from measured detective work to scenes of shocking brutality and escalating horror. These sharp contrasts in pacing intensify the experience, ensuring that the viewer is never allowed to settle into a sense of comfort. The film lulls us into a false sense of security before jolting us awake with an unexpected, heart-stopping moment and leaves us reeling. That slow burn pacing serves to heighten the intensity when it finally breaks. Unlike typical thrillers, where fast-paced sequences dominate the action, Fincher deliberately steers away from the immediate gratification, allowing dread to build in the quiet moments. This slower approach not only builds suspense, but also immerses us in the bleakness of the world that these characters live in. However, when the film switches gears and accelerates into fast-paced sequences, it is incredibly effective. For example, the scene where Detective Mills discovers the true horror of the murderer's plan is a rapid escalation from the investigative pacing we've grown accustomed to. The rapid-fire revelations in the final moments, particularly when the film reaches its emotional crescendo, transform the tone from psychological thriller to something altogether more devastating. In this way, the pacing isn't just about keeping us engaged. It's a tool that enhances the impact of the themes, because Seven is not just a detective story, but a meditation on the nature of evil, the consequence of inaction, and the impact of moral choices. Its pacing, both slow and fast, mirrors the unraveling of these profound questions. One of the most remarkable elements of Seven is its narrative structure, which is full of twists and turns that elevate the story to legendary status. From the outset, Fincher carefully sets up expectations for a typical procedural thriller, leading us to believe we know where the story is headed. But Seven repeatedly defies these expectations, turning familiar tropes on their head. The film's twists are not just clever for the sake of being unexpected. They're devastating, each one more horrifying than the last. The first big revelation, the identity of the killer, changes everything. But it's the final twist that truly shatters us. In the film's unforgettable climax, when Detective Mills makes a choice that will haunt him forever, the revelation about the final sin is both shocking and deeply tragic. It's a twist that defines or redefines the genre and makes us question everything we thought we understood about the story. The brutality of the film's progression, from the first murder to the final act, is heartbreaking not just for the characters involved, but for us. We're forced to confront uncomfortable truths about the human condition. The ending of Seven is one of the most ambiguous and gut-wrenching in cinema history. After the devastating climax, where we've been led to expect a resolution, we're left with a chilling silence that speaks volumes. In the final moments, Detective Mill's emotional breakdown and the stillness of the city around him underscore the despair that permeates the film. What makes the ending so haunting is that it doesn't offer closure. There's no neat resolution or tidy bow tying up the narrative. Instead, it leaves us with a profound sense of loss, forcing us to grapple with difficult moral questions. Did Mills make the right decision? Is there any redemption for him or for society? These are questions that Seven leaves hanging in the air, unanswered, as we are left to wrestle with the ramifications of the choices the characters have made. It's a conclusion that sticks with you. It's a compelling reflection on justice, morality, and the cost of revenge. In many ways, it's this open-endedness that makes the film so powerful, because it doesn't provide simple answers or resolutions. Instead, it makes us face the uncomfortable complexity of the world, where right and wrong are often not as clear-cut as they appear. Seven is a film that explores pacing, plot structure, twists and endings in ways that have redefined the thriller genre. It's a brilliant, emotionally devastating experience that continues to resonate with me years after its release. When Seven was released in 1995, it was a game changer for psychological horror and crime thrillers. David Fincher and writer Andrew Kevin Walker redefined what psychological horror could be. Up until that point, many horror films relied on supernatural elements or slasher tropes. But Seven brought something much darker and more grounded to the genre. It's a chilling exploration of human depravity, juxtaposed with the brutal visuals of the seven deadly sins, and it created a level of tension and unease that we had never really felt before in mainstream cinema. But what truly sets it apart is its meticulous approach to storytelling. The film weaves a dense, atmospheric narrative that doesn't just rely on shock value, but rather slowly builds tension, making every twist feel earned. It's the kind of film that doesn't just entertain, it gets under your skin. And it's this psychological tension that has influenced countless films and directors in the years since its release. Directors like Darren Aronofsky, Christopher Nolan, and even genre-blending filmmakers like Denis Villeneuve cite Seven as a key influence on their own works, particularly in how they approach the exploration of dark, twisted themes in a grounded, realistic world. The film also set a new benchmark for visual style in psychological thrillers. Fincher's cinematography, moody, grimy, rain-soaked, has since been emulated in numerous TV shows and movies, his own Zodiac and Mindhunter being great examples. But perhaps its most lasting contribution was its treatment of moral ambiguity and existential dread, creating a template for movies that would challenge audiences, challenge us to think critically about our own perceptions of right and wrong. Now, in 1995, Seven garnered immediate attention for its bold storytelling and unique approach to the horror. Critics hailed the film as a masterpiece of tension and psychological complexity, praising its relentless atmosphere and the standout performances from Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. The film's grim tone, especially in its portrayal of the sins and the moral questions it raises, struck a chord with audiences who were craving something deeper than typical slasher fare. However, Seven was not without controversy. Its stark bleakness and disturbing content were divisive. Some audiences just found it too dark, too cynical, and even emotionally draining. The film's unsettling final moments, with the iconic "What's in the box?" scene, left many viewers feeling disillusioned rather than satisfied. While some embraced the film's nihilistic message, others were repelled by its uncompromising worldview. Yet, it's precisely this polarizing nature that helps cement its place as a cultural touchstone. It wasn't just another film that played to the masses. It was one that demanded thought and discussion, leaving no room for indifference. This complex relationship with the audience ultimately helped Seven achieve an almost mythical status in the years that followed. It became a cultural phenomenon, referenced in pop culture, revered by film buffs as one of the greatest thrillers ever made. Its exploration of the human psyche, combined with its unflinching portrayal of violence and its unsettling depiction of a morally fractured world, was a revelation for those who appreciated film that is willing to challenge convention. Over time, Seven has transitioned into a modern classic. What began as a divisive film has evolved into a timeless psychological horror piece that continues to provoke thought and discussion. Its impact on the genre cannot be overstated. Seven didn't just influence other films. It helped shape the landscape of modern horror and thriller cinema. The film's ability to haunt and provoke audiences is perhaps its most enduring quality. Even decades after its release, Seven remains a touchstone for filmmakers looking to explore those themes of obsession, guilt, and moral decay. Its reputation as one of the greatest psychological horror films of all time is also well-deserved, with its portrayal of the human capacity for evil and its dark, foreboding atmosphere setting the standard for what horror can achieve when it really dives into the psyche. Today, Seven is often cited alongside other seminal films like Silence of the Lambs and Psycho as a benchmark of psychological horror. Its chilling influence is still felt in the genre, and its legacy continues to inspire new generations of filmmakers who strive to create similarly gripping, thought-provoking work. The film's exploration of the dark side of humanity, coupled with its emotionally resonant and unforgettable performances, ensures that it will remain a defining moment in the history of cinema. Seven remains one of the most influential psychological horror films of the modern era, with a haunting narrative that transcends the boundaries of traditional crime thrillers. David Fincher's meticulous attention to detail creates an atmosphere that's as unsettling as it is engrossing. The film grips you from start to finish, offering a relentless exploration of human nature, guilt, and the consequences of unchecked evil. Its grim, almost suffocating atmosphere is coupled with performances that are both chilling and deeply emotional, making us feel the weight of each character's journey. The movie's exploration of sin, morality, and justice goes beyond just the grisly murders. This is a film that forces you to reflect on the darkest corner of the human psyche, without offering easy answers. The way it interweaves complex themes with the tension of a police procedural creates an unforgettable cinematic experience. The slow building dread, punctuated by moments of shocking brutality, allows Seven to stand as a unique blend of art house filmmaking and genre storytelling. However, with its bleak focus of the human condition and a final act that delivers a gut punch of despair, Seven is not a film for everyone. Its relentlessly grim tone and haunting imagery can be emotionally exhausting, particularly for those who prefer more uplifting or optimistic narratives. This is a movie that'll leave you unsettled and perhaps even disturbed. Some viewers might find its final moments too much to bear. That said, the film's audacity in presenting such a dark, morally ambiguous story is one of its greatest strengths, and it's precisely this raw, uncompromising vision that sets it apart from other psychological thrillers. The film's atmosphere is truly unmatched. Fincher's use of shadows, rain-soaked streets, and decaying urban landscapes creates a sense of inevitable doom that perfectly mirrors the story's descent into moral darkness. The cinematography is stark, and every frame feels carefully crafted to evoke a sense of dread. The pacing is deliberately slow, allowing the tension to build, but some may find the film's deliberate pace a bit too languid, particularly those accustomed to fast-moving thrillers. Character depth is another strength of Seven. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman deliver some of their best performances as Mills and Somerset. The contrast between their characters, Mills the impulsive young officer and Somerset the seasoned vet, add layers to the narrative. The interactions between them are riveting, showcasing their different approaches to justice and their contrasting worldviews. However, some viewers may feel that the character of the killer, John Doe, played by Kevin Spacey, is less developed than the protagonist, serving more as an embodiment of philosophical themes rather than a fully fleshed out individual. While the film's exploration of deep psychological themes is one of its major draws, it might be a barrier for some. The film asks uncomfortable questions about human nature and morality, and the philosophical musings embedded in the narrative may not resonate with everyone. For those looking for a straightforward crime mystery, Seven may feel overly abstract or inaccessible at times. My personal rating? I give Seven a 9 out of 10. It's a film that not only delivers on suspense, but also leaves a lasting impression due to its profound, unsettling themes and the brilliant performances that elevate the material. The film lingered with me, made it an essential viewing experience, not just for me, but for fans of psychological horror and anyone looking for a film that challenges both the intellect and emotions. So my recommendation, if you're drawn to dark, cerebral films that challenge your perception and linger in your mind, Seven is definitely for you. It's not just a film, but an experience, a dive into the darkest parts of human nature, and it leaves a lasting impact. While the film may be too heavy for those seeking lighter entertainment, it is an absolute must-watch for those who appreciate complex, thought-provoking cinema. Just be prepared for its grim tone and its unflinching look at the human condition. This is not a film you watch lightly, but it's one you won't easily forget. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk Horror Edition. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of horror cinema and the unique ways filmmakers keep us on the edge of our seats. If you liked what you heard, I'd love to hear from you. Please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share your thoughts with me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Threads at RealTalk. You can email me at therealrealtalk@gmail.com. Your feedback not only helps the show grow, but also lets me know what you enjoy the most. I truly appreciate every comment, every rating, and every share. It means a lot. Also, don't forget to follow Real Talk, our regular show, as well as this show on your favorite platform so you won't miss a single episode. We have some amazing content coming up, and I can't wait to explore more of what makes the horror genre so captivating. Next time, we're diving into the psychological terror and emotional depth of Ari Aster's Hereditary, as we begin part 3 of our psychological horror series. I call this part Trauma and Transformation. It's going to be a haunting, thought-provoking episode, so make sure you're subscribed to join me for that conversation. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and keep exploring the dark corners of cinema. There's always something new to uncover, and I'm excited to keep digging into this rich world of horror with all of you. Keep watching, keep questioning, and most of all, keep enjoying the strange and eerie world of horror films. Thank you again for being a part of this journey, and I'll see you next time.
Creeping through the silence dark, whispers in the midnight park. The night is cold, there's no escape. Ghostly figures take their shape. Others play a twisted game. Fear and terror stake their claim. Footsteps follow close behind. Haunting thoughts invade your mind. Run away, but they won't go. In the darkness, fear will grow. Midnight shadows come to play. In your dreams, they'll always stay. Windows rattle, doors they creak. Ghostly whispers start to speak. Every corner hides a fear. Close your eyes, they're drawing near. Candles flicker, spirits call. In the night they'll take it all. Midnight strikes, the clocks rewind. Nightmares now are intertwined. Run away, but they won't go. In the darkness, fear will grow. Midnight shadows come to play. In your dreams, they'll all